What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. With the 2021 Overwatch Archives event coming up soon, today I want to make a video taking a look at some of the new skin ideas we could be seeing with this year's event. There are a ton of different designs and outfits worn by different heroes, which represent different stages of their lives and development prior to present day Overwatch, and many of those could very easily be represented in legendary and epic skins for the Archives event. So without further ado, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you end up enjoying this video, and otherwise, let's jump right on in to the Overwatch Archive skins. Real quick before we get started though, I would like to remind you that I have already put out a video talking about when exactly we can expect the 2021 Archives event to actually start, as well as which heroes are statistically most likely to be getting a new skin with this event. So if you haven't seen that video already, you can check it out by either clicking the card on screen now or via the link in the description. But otherwise, now on to the skins. So first up, we have a couple of skin ideas for a hero who has a pretty interesting backstory that hasn't actually been explored that much, and that's Doomfist. Now, for those of you who are playing Overwatch prior to Doomfist being added as a playable hero, you likely remember seeing these three posters on Numbani showing off the three different Doomfists who have existed over the years. Now, as we all know, the successor eventually turned out to be the Doomfist we have playable in-game currently, but the previous two Doomfists are very interesting characters who we haven't really learned much more about since the release of current Doomfist. So what better way to build on these characters from Doomfist's backstory than to give him a skin representing one or both of them? We can clearly see that they have very distinct appearances from what current day Doomfist looks like, and aside from the Scourge wielding the Doomfist gauntlet on his left hand instead of the right, it'd be pretty easy to take these designs and make them skins for the in-game Doomfist. In particular, I'm a huge fan of the original Doomfist, the Savior, because his gauntlet was essentially just these bare-fisted knuckle dusters. We can see that he does have quite a bit of bulk just from how muscular his arm is, which I guess could somewhat make up for the bulk of the gauntlet we see in-game, but I have no doubt that Blizzard could easily come up with an interesting and viable design based on these other characters that would work for a skin and of course would fit perfectly within the Archives event. Moving on from Doomfist though, next up we have Scientist Sigma. Now this idea comes from Sigma's origin story, where we see in a couple of the clips that he appears to have some sort of scientist outfit. While admittedly the skin isn't super interesting in terms of detail, simply the idea of giving Sigma a proper scientist skin has a lot of potential in my opinion. While this outfit from the origin story does bear some resemblance to the Dr. De Kuiper skin he already has, this skin is only an epic. So I think there's definitely potential for Blizzard to go all out with a legendary skin to better represent the scientist aesthetic. I think if Blizzard did actually end up making this a skin for Archives, they would add quite a bit more detail to it, kind of like what they did with Moira's scientist skin, which she got in the Archives event a couple years back. They could even make the scientist outfit focus a bit more on a sort of astrophysicist scientist who is performing experiments on the International Space Station, as we know from his backstory was something he did. So maybe they could almost give the skin a bit more of like an astronaut vibe or something along those lines to further differentiate it from the skins he already has in game. Overall though, a very fitting idea for one of my personal favorite heroes, so I would love to see him get something like this. Next up though, we have a skin idea which once again comes from the hero's origin story, and that's Training Armor Brigitta. Now, like some of the other skin ideas I've covered in this video, we only get a couple brief looks at this actual outfit, which is worn in these two scenes here. What makes this outfit stand out the most seems to be that it's a sort of prototype or unfinished version of the armor she ends up having as her default skin in-game, with the big visual outliers being the padded mace and shield which she uses when sparring with Reinhardt. Those two items in particular I think would be the most interesting thing to build on, and possibly they could modify the armor we see here to also make it a bit more padded as well, to better fit the idea of it being something she wore while training and sparring with Reinhardt. Overall, it's not the most outstanding skin idea when it comes to just the visuals of it, but it would be a rather different look from the skins she has currently, and would certainly tie into her backstory, which is always important when we're talking about Archive skins. Another skin idea though for another one of my favorite heroes is Omnic Crisis Orisa. Now the interesting thing about this skin is that it technically already exists in game, just with a different color scheme, being the purple Null Sector skin. However, Orisa only having the purple version doesn't really seem fair, since if we look at Bastion, he has both the purple and orange variants for Null Sector and the Omnic Crisis respectively, but Orisa only has the purple Null Sector one, despite the fact that we clearly see an orange version of this exact same skin in Reinhardt's Honor and Glory animated short. So if we're simply talking about the amount of effort that would go into designing a new skin, most of the hard work for the skin would already be done, since the Null Sector version of it already exists. All they would have to do is essentially recolor the existing Null Sector skin to give Orisa that cool orange Omnic Crisis appearance. Now, I understand why Blizzard probably hasn't added the skin yet, which is that if they just added in a full-priced new legendary skin that was just a recolor of an existing legendary skin, that'd probably end up feeling a bit underwhelming, but the thing they could do, which I think would make it work really, really well, is to make this skin available as one of the weekly challenge skins you unlock by getting 9 wins during each week of the event, and just have it replace what would otherwise be an epic skin. That way you wouldn't have to spend credits in order to unlock it, and it would feel like a more fair item to unlock, since it would only be on par with other epic skins, despite the fact that it's, well, a legendary. As someone who's a big fan of Orisa and absolutely loves the orange look of this Omnic Crisis skin, I really hope that Blizzard finds some way of adding it at some point in time. Again, it's already been years since the skin was shown off during Reinhardt's animated short, and we still have yet to get it, but maybe, just maybe, this will be the year where Blizzard finally gives it to us. But the next skin idea we have to look at is actually a fairly recently revealed one, and that's Deadlock Gang Ash. Now what we see here is the cover of the upcoming Deadlock Rebels book, which hasn't actually been released yet at the time of me making this video, but on the cover we can see Ash and McCree, with McCree wearing his Deadlock skin he got a few years ago during the Archives event, and Ash having a somewhat unique outfit we haven't really seen before. Most notably, she has the red jacket instead of the outfit we normally see her wearing in her default skin, and of course she has longer hair. So, just like how McCree got a Deadlock skin a couple years ago, why not give Ash a Deadlock skin that fits the image we see here on the cover of this upcoming book? Now, like the Sigma skin I mentioned earlier, the outfit here might not be unique enough from her default skin to really justify making it a full-on legendary, but I think Blizzard could easily just add in some more detailing to make it stand out more from what we see already. They could certainly add a bunch more detailing to her rifle, make her dynamite something different, and add maybe a bit more detail to the outfit we see here. And of course, that's also not accounting for Bob, who I'm sure could undergo some pretty extreme changes if they wanted, while still fitting within the cowboy, western, outlaw aesthetic. Sticking with Ash though, another skin idea for her, which once again comes from her origin story, is Prep School Ash. In her origin story, we see that Ash went to a private boarding school of some sort or another, and we can see that later on still, even after she got older, she still was seemingly going to these private schools where she had the uniform we see here. So, why not give her a legendary skin that matches the school uniform outfit? It's certainly a unique look from her existing skins and would tie in perfectly with her backstory, but the big question, I guess, would be what they end up doing with Bob. As we can see in the origin story, Bob has his butler outfit that she actually got with her socialite skin a couple years ago, which was again part of the Archives event. So what if instead they gave Bob something school related as well? They could either make him some kind of educator, like maybe Bob is a teacher or a school principal, or maybe they could even go the other direction and make Bob a big buff bully, essentially. Admittedly, I'm not sure what exactly any of those Bob outfits would look like, but there's some interesting ideas there. I think there's enough material for Blizzard to work with to come up with an interesting school-themed Bob outfit when it comes to a prep school Ash skin. But moving on to another skin idea, this time being one we saw in one of the animated shorts, we have Grey Mech Diva. Now, as many of you likely recall, at the end of D.Va's Shooting Star animated short, her mech gets destroyed in a self-destruct, which is basically her ultimate from in-game, and then at the very end, in the final scene, we see her rebuilding her mech, and we see a sort of unfinished, unpainted gray version of it, with a bit of yellow sort of scaffolding framework holding it together, and while this is clearly just an unfinished version of her regular mech, I think it would actually be a very interesting idea for her to get a skin based on this unfinished gray mech design. Now, given that it's just an unfinished version of her default mech, I think this would actually be a really good idea for a D.Va Epic skin, where the mech itself is essentially the same model as her default skin, but the color scheme and some of the detailing has been changed to make it look like an unfinished reconstruction of it. On top of that, D.Va herself could be wearing the baseball cap, which was iconic from the Shooting Star animated short, which surprisingly hasn't shown up in any of her other skins so far. They might also give her the jacket we see in Shooting Star, which I gotta say, when being worn with the hat, makes her a very cool outfit. And while I'm certainly not the first person to mention the gray unfinished mech with D.Va in her baseball cap as a possible archive skin idea, it's a very fitting one, and one which I'm honestly a bit surprised Blizzard hasn't added yet. It would tie in perfectly with her animated short, and overall I think would just be a really cool look for her. And the last skin idea I want to take a look at for today is Scion Genji. Now, this skin idea is based heavily on the Scion Hanzo skin, which he got a few years ago from the Archives event, and basically would just be a similar sort of formal attire, but this time for Genji instead of Hanzo. While admittedly Genji doesn't fit the Scion theme quite as well as Hanzo, since Genji was a bit more of a playboy in his days and didn't really follow the strict family codes and stuff in the same way Hanzo did, I still think they could make a dapper skin for Genji to give him some sort of formal ninja outfit. Maybe some sort of fancy Yakuza-esque attire like what we see here would be more fitting for him, but overall I think Genji could use a formal skin of some sort or another, and once again it would fit very well with the 2021 Archives event. But anyways, that does it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on any of the skin ideas I covered by dropping a comment down below. And if you have your own ideas for possible skin ideas we could be seeing with the 2021 Overwatch Archives event, then be sure to drop those down in the comments as well. As always, be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server if you want to hang out and never miss out on any future Overwatch news and content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.